Alright, welcome to the first of my 2.2 build updates. So, this first one is going to be for my Mjolnir character. Be watching for more coming in the next few days. So there's been quite a few changes, as many of you know, with the game. And one of the big things that was introduced was the Ascendancy classes. And you're probably also wanting to see the new skill tree I've made for 2.2 to optimize that. So, before we look at any of my gear or how some of those steps have changed, let's go ahead and check out the passive tree here. So immediately the first thing that you can see here is that I'm a Juggernaut. So this is the Marauder class that emphasizes tankiness as well as some other things. And the three notables I've taken here, we've taken Undeniable, which gives us 10% attack speed and 1000 accuracy rating. So this makes the accuracy rating of the build around 93%, which increases our proc rate significantly with the Mjolnir. There's also another 6% attack speed on the way in. The next thing that's important is we have Unflinching, which the big highlight here is +1 max endurance charges. So this essentially, this is up to the max endurance count to 6, which in turn I've modified the tree to pick up an additional power charge, so we have 5 power charges and 6 endurance charges. The 20% chance to get an endurance charge when hit is very nice, and although I don't really notice it because I generate and remove charges so quickly. And then finally, the last one we've taken here is Unyielding, which is preceded by a 0.4% regen, which is 30% increased damage while you have Fortify. I get Fortify whenever I attack or use a movement skill, and it's an extra 1.5% max life regeneration. I've also picked up some additional armor percentage, but that isn't really that significant. As you can see, I'm currently at over 6,000 life, 6,500 life. When not using my Izaro shield. So let me go ahead, you can click this little button here to minimize this so you can see the rest of the tree. Go ahead and zoom out here. So the start of the tree hasn't changed, the duelist area hasn't changed. I've had to divine a few jewels, but not this one. This life wheel has changed in look, but it still works exactly the same. Alright, so in here is where we can start to see some of the skill changes. I dropped this jewel socket and life regen nodes here. I'll explain why. I divined this jewel because you had to divine anything that has critical multiplier on it, and it got a higher life roll, which was nice. Alright, so here is where the changes begin. So if you remember, I used to go out through these nodes to get to the critical multiplier and the life. And I also used to go up in here and get the lightning wheel. I've dropped that. So what I do now is, before I had all these nodes here. So I come out this jewel socket, I moved this jewel over here, and we come out this intelligence, and we pick up this extra power charge here, and then connect back in here, which let us drop this node. I couldn't drop this node here because I actually need that dexterity. If I could find a way to get some more dexterity off my gear at some point, I could potentially drop this node and then move this intelligence node over here to start pathing back into this, or something of that nature, because I will need that intelligence back. And then I picked up the hybrid pen nodes along with the elemental damage. I figured that that's because I'm doing large amounts of mixed fire and lightning damage. Even though I'm doing more lightning damage because of arc, scaling the fire damage as well as scaling the penetration of everything would be better than just getting 3% penetration from over here. So yeah, that is the skill tree in its current state. There have been a few other changes to the build, and again, if you're playing this as Marauder, I highly recommend Juggernaut over any of the other classes. You can pick up Berserker if you want, and it will get you a lot of damage, but the issue is, this is a Mjolnir build, it doesn't really need more damage, and getting tankier never hurt anyone, for as far as I know. With that, let's go ahead and go into my current gear. It's nice you can overlay your gear on the passive tree now, just because of the fact that jewels are in the game. This is the only way to move them in. So none of my gear has really changed. I can show you some of the enchants I'm currently running with. Only one of them is one I think I'll probably keep. So when you complete the Labyrinth, in Merciless, you can enchant any of your items with the most powerful enchants available. So, enchants I'm currently using. So, on my boots, I have 0.5% of damage leeches life and mana if you've killed recently. Recently means in the last 4 seconds. So, basically, if I'm fighting, I have additional life leech, which is really nice. On my gloves, I currently have Cast Decree of Frost on kill. I want to get rid of this. It's not really that great. It's cool. So this fires out like a nova of kind of like ice arrow things whenever you kill. And because I have the +1 chain from Mjolnir, they actually chain and can kill some things, but I'd like something better, preferably some kind of cool on-hit thing, so I can use it against bosses. My helmet currently has ground slam radius, but again, I've just been constantly crafting this thing, looking for something that'll buff my build. Ideally, I would like additional Molten Strike projectiles or discharge damage. I've also gotten Immortal Call duration at one point, but it didn't really stack, and it added like a little more than 1/10 of a second, so I decided that wasn't worth it, and I just rolled over it. Now, some people may say, why wouldn't you like something like, X% chance for discharge to not consume charges? And I don't actually want that on this build because I need to consume charges to generate charges with Vault's Devotion. So I would actually not like that. That would potentially break the build. Can you imagine a situation where I'm just like warming up and I do a discharge. It doesn't consume the charges. I don't get any endurance charges, and then I get hit big, or yeah, that's my kind of nightmare scenario. It is possible because of Ramira's, though. If I get a crit, that all those charges would just be transferred, but I don't really want to disrupt the charge generation, so that's really why I'm hesitant to roll with something like discharge. It doesn't consume charges. So, the biggest change in terms of the way my skills work is I now run a high-level elemental weakness on Blasphemy instead of running Wrath. So, my 3 auras, you can see the Herald of Thunder, you can see the Blasphemite elemental weakness circling me there, and of course my Arctic armor. So I dropped Wrath for the high-level elemental weakness, and you may say, well, why did you do that? Wrath was 21% more lightning damage. Well, here's the thing. Let's say that I did 100 damage base, and I'm dealing with an enemy with, say, no resists. Okay, the 21% increased lightning damage with spells would make me do 121 damage. Now, with the elemental weakness, I would do 121 lightning damage. If let's say I did 100 lightning, 100 fire, I would do a total of 221 damage with the let's say the arc damage was, say, 50. So I would do 60 plus 100 plus 121, which is 281 damage with that. But then let's say I'm running this, they lose 43% elemental resistances. Okay, so they take 143 damage from the lightning discharge, 143 damage from the fire discharge, and then about 70 damage from the arc, and it's far more. So by making the enemy lose resistances, it actually increases the overall damage. Normally I had a lower level one of these triggered on cast when damage taken, but I found that to be too inconsistent, and this is much more powerful, especially because Izaro does not reflect Blasphemy curses, so we can just curse her for free with this. We'll have to get a 20 quality Blasphemy, but that won't be too hard. I have many GCPs in Standard, so I will just probably manually quality this, because I can and I'm lazy. And then I've moved my Tempest Shield into my cast when damage taken setup. So for terms of... Oh, another thing that's really cool in 2.2, they changed the cast time of Blood Rage to a quarter second, down from a second, so it just does this. It's very quick. So you're not really going to see anything in the Dried Lake contest me at all. And there you saw the Decree of Frost go off. Again, not much to really show here. So instead of running the Dried Lake like I have in the past, we're gonna go somewhere else. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Feeling?
Yeah. Alright, so let's go to the new content. That'll give me a chance to talk about it, as well as just kind of show how, I guess, easy it is for this character. Alright, so if you've completed all 6 of the Trials of Ascendance in difficulty, you can go into the Labyrinth in that difficulty. This is the Merciless Labyrinth. In the Labyrinth, you will have to fight its boss, Izaro, 3 times. And if you die at any point during the run, well, you have to start over. Now, one of the cool things about the Labyrinth is the layout does change every day. I've already ran this layout a few times, so I do know it. But again, that doesn't... Today's layout is also kind of sucky, so just take that into mind. Alright, so when you're in the Labyrinth, there's always these current location things that show you where you are. Those are very helpful, especially when you're first exploring and you want to make sure you know an area. Alright, we're on to the second zone. Alright, and in the background you can hear the sound of a trap. So here's an example of a trap. See these holes in the floor? There's going to be spikes that come out. Now all the traps in the Labyrinth, their damage is percentage based. So, alright, these, any spikes you see that have this little circle in the middle means these are triggered after a delay when you step on them. So what you do here is you just walk right across. And there you can see my Immortal Call blocked a lot of that. Now, the Labyrinth also frequently spawns boxes. I'm not going to bother to open that because it's standard and I don't need level tier 1 maps. Okay, we'll kill this guy though. Alright, so you can see that we have a chance to enter the Labyrinth there, but I know that this zone has a direct connection to the Aspirant's Trial. So we're going to go in there instead. Alright, so there are 8 possible, so Izaro has 3 phases. There are 8 possible things that he can do in the first and second phases. And the ones for today, the first phase is Gargoyles, and the second phase is Elemental Essences. So I'll talk through how to do this fight while we're in here. So there's going to be 3 Gargoyles that come up in each of these spots. You should only really attack them when they're active. They have a huge damage reduction when they're inactive. So this one is active right now, so we'll kill it. And I'm going to avoid attacking Izaro until all 3 of his Gargoyles are down, because if I don't, he will have them to buff him in later fights. So, it looks like sounds like that one's active over there. Now, so basically, this fight will end when Izaro reaches 30% life. So now we're just going to threshold him. Just watch his health bar. Alright, he's out 33%, and he goes back into the middle. That's the first fight complete. So again, don't attack Izaro until all 3 of the gargoyles are dead. Okay? Anything you leave alive in any of the first 2 Izaro fights will come back to haunt you in the later fights. Unless you intentionally want to make things more difficult, but the boss scales rather exponentially. So I wouldn't not recommend making things more difficult than they have to be, especially because if you die, you gotta start over, and making the fights harder only gives you like 1 additional treasure key at the end. So there's a whole bunch of chests at the end that you need keys to open. And by making the fight harder, you can make it so there's additional keys. But that said, it doesn't really work out so well when if you die trying to open 1 extra chest. That's not really worthwhile. Alright, so where I am currently, I am in a gold key area, and I knew the previous area was a gold door. So you can't open an area that has a key without... that hurts. Poison spikes plus shredder things is not always very fun. Alright, we are through that trap. Alright, so it's going to be very helpful to hit this switch here. Change the path so that it's longer and also not in the way. Let's hit that switch. And they don't need to hit that other one, we can just walk around. So with all gold key areas, they're laid out in a loop where one end of the loop is initially locked, and you will need to basically walk around, and there's usually 1 large trap and then another smaller trap to get to the key. The larger trap was that combined trap that had the poison dart spitters and the whirling logs. Alright, so you can see the golden chest in there. We're going to have to walk around the back of it to get to it, and in order to do that, we'll have to get through this trap here, which is a fairly simple matter of waiting. This trap you can jump around if you have a skill that displaces. This trap you wait for it to come through the door and then walk past. And then proceed to kill the mobs. Open the chest, get the key, pull the lever. Then you can walk over here, pull the lever, open the door, and finish the loop and come back to the entrance. That's the basic thing of how you do a gold key. Alright, now the golden doors are almost always down and to the right from where the gold key area entrance is, and this area is no exception. Now the interesting thing they've done today is you have 2 choices of gold doors because there's 2 rooms afterwards. So I'm going to pick the gold door on the right because I don't like the next area on the left. And we enter the labyrinth again. I'm taking this a little slower than I would normally run it just so I can talk through it. So don't take like, oh, this is a slow run. Also, this is a rather strange area. So this is a silver cache. The latter part of the labyrinth is rather confusing. So this is a fiery floor. We're going to pull this lever here. And as you can see, the floor is beginning to go molten. You don't want to walk on it when it's like this. It's a bad idea. Now the floor is cooling off, you can make a run across it. Pull this lever here after killing the mobs. That should enable us to walk right on through. We can just also just jump up here. I wonder what pulling this lever does. I don't even know. We saw some Roombas there, as we like to call them. Now, as I recall, the correct way to go in this area is all the way to the right. Or not. Alright, it's over here. Ah, yes, it is all the way to the right. You go down through here. And there's going to be an Aspirant's Trial right here. Alright, so we're on to the second fight. So the second fight is the Elemental Essences. Now, so basically there's going to be 3 golems that spawn. 1 lightning, 1 fire, 1 cold. And if Izaro, they will walk towards Izaro. If Izaro absorbs them, he gets buffed by them. And they'll come back in the last fight as a minion, which is nice. So there isn't too much of a consequence for always partially failing this stage, but again, I like to complete everything, so let's give it a shot. The key thing here is you want to keep Izaro away from whichever golem he spawns, so he doesn't just walk into it. So you can see the golem is spawning over there. I'm going to stand on this side of Izaro so that he comes toward me, and then we will quickly go burst his golem friend down. Alright, so the next one is spawning over there, so we'll stay over here. And then we will go kill it. Alright, it's dead. The last one's going to spawn in the far corner. So he's doing a charge attack, which has a long animation, which gives me a chance to come over here. And the essences are dead. Now I'm just going to go in on Izaro, and I'm going to face tank him until he is to his next health threshold, which is a little past the eye. So right there, he gives the ending thing, and we are through. So the next couple zones are a little boring, and there's a lot of them, so... Alright, because this is a short fire thing, I'm just going to jump across it while it's active, because I don't care. Alright, here I believe you want to go to the right. Oh, and something that you didn't know, you may not know, if I stand in the middle of mobs and they attack me, let's try that again, my Mjolnir can trigger without me even doing anything. Which is something really cool that I have that not a lot of other Mjolnir builds have decided to incorporate, which is counterattacks. So if you didn't already know, I have both Vengeance and Reckoning in my build. They're socketed in my helmet linked to increased AoE. So that when monsters attack me, I have a pretty significant chance to counterattack if I block or if I'm just hit, and those hits count as Mjolnir hits. So that's a cool way to get additional charges. So where you can see where I currently am, I'm currently in this silver cache here, which is actually the wrong way. So we're going to go back. So we can find another way to go. As I recall, the correct way to go, once you've gone to the right, is you want to go to the left over here. So, yeah, that's right, you have to solve a puzzle. So these are stairs you have to be careful of because there is part of them over here, as you can see that is over the fire floor. And if you're just used to all the stairs are safe mode, then you're not going to have a good time. There's no way to cheat across here. I don't think I can leap over here. Oh, I can. I'm a little stuck on the edge, but I don't think I'm supposed to be able to do that, so that's definitely a shortcut. Because now I can just go over here. Oh wait, that door's locked. Where's the lever? Over here. Alright, we gotta wait until the floor is deactivated. So, most enemies are immune to the floor, which is kind of annoying. So let's go ahead and pull this crank here. So let's see if that did it. It did not. Lame. Alright, maybe I should go through this the way I'm supposed to. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll pull this crank over here. Yes, I believe this is the way that you were supposed to do it. We're just going to run across. No? I missed another one. Or maybe I need to pull the second crank. Now the first one is inactive. Okay, I have to pull them both close together. This one's going to time out, I think. Yep, there it goes. Okay. So we got to pull them both in the same cycle. So we're going to pull this one, run over here, pull this one. We'll wait for the fire to end. And then run. And the door's open. Excellent. Alright. So it turns out jumping across that gap was perfectly fine for the puzzle. Alright, we're now in an empty zone. I believe there's actually one more zone to go before the trial, which is a little annoying. But I'm just going to go all the way to the right and then up. Also, if you're high level, you don't really need to bother killing the monsters in here. As you can see, I'm just jumping around, and if I happen to trigger Mjolnir when I jump, so be it. Alright, so I believe this is the last zone before the trial. Yes, correct. Alright, so this is, as I recall, there's going to be some traps here. The first one, again, is a hot floor. Don't step on the floor when it's red hot. Alright, let's see. So we got to pull a lever. Looking for a safe area. Here's a safe area. Alright, there's going to be another lever over there. We'll wait for the next cycle to pull it. You can see it right over there. Alright, let's go for it. Pull the lever. We should now be able to walk through this door here. We can pull this lever to... Oh, no. No. Okay, we have to go through here. Okay, so walk over here, pull the switch. Switch the track. I'll pick up the Chaos Orb. And with these, wait for the gap and walk right between them. With this one, you want to hit the switch. Stand over here. The switch, it'll go down to the left. You can go right through. Got some more hot floor here. Herald of Thunder doing work. Alright. So now we can cross. We're through there. Through that trap. And we should be able to head just straight up to the next entrance, which should be to the last trial. It should be right over here. There it is. Alright, so final boss fight. So Izaro will... This room is going to be larger, but there's going to be traps in it. And Izaro will have any buffs from his previous fights. You'll be able to see them over here and over here. As you can see, those are both empty, so he doesn't have any buffs. So we'll go ahead and go into the stairs. Alright, so we have Roombas and poison darts here. The Roombas' paths are clearly seeable on the floor. And you can see the darts flying across there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight Izaro in this square region over here where there's no traps. So we'll wait for his charge, and then we're just going to face tank him. This build, as you guys know, is very tanky. And so you saw how there was a green circle there that teleported me across the map. That is probably Izaro's most dangerous thing if you're a melee like me, if you don't face lock, if you don't name lock, which is the fact that you can tell he teleports you into traps when there's that big green circle. I just didn't dodge it. So, alright, as you can see, there are 10 chests here. You can pick any one. You can pick as many of them as you have treasure keys. I have one treasure key, so let's open this one. And a bunch of loot pops out. Okay, I got 3 uniques. This one's new, so I will keep that one. The other 2 are not, so I'm not going to bother with them unless I have room to carry them to vendor. Okay, I'll carry the decimation bow and vendor it. Alright, so once you've completed the Labyrinth, you can enchant a piece of your gear. So we'll activate this. You left click the skull and then left click the piece of gear you want to enchant. It has to be glove, boots, or helm. So we'll take a shot at my helm. We'll see if we can get anything. Glacial Hammer Freeze Chance. It doesn't do anything just like the previous enchant, so that's not a big deal. Yeah, so mainly I want Molten Strike projectiles, or discharge damage, or I'd settle for arc damage, or anything that buff my arc as well. But again, that doesn't hurt me. I've actually hit Glacial Hammer Freeze Chance multiple times. I've hit some of the mods that I don't want multiple times now, which is pretty funny. There's also a stash here, and you talk to this altar here to get your Ascendancy points. Again, you can see my class here, and you could change your class here if you refund all your Ascendancy points. But I'm not, of course, not going to change my class. Press the spacebar to close this menu, and then you can use the portal to return to town. The only change I make to the build to run at Zeri, I swap out my shield here for a Saphos here. I have a corrupted one that I corrupted with +1 gems myself, and this just boosts the level of my auras. If you want to run Uber, what I recommend, I would re-roll my shield here to, I wouldn't actually need to well, I would need to re-roll the colors with some Vol Orbs to at least one red and at least one blue, and then the last socket wouldn't really matter. And I would run Herald of Lightning and I'd run Purity of Fire and Purity of Lightning to boost my max resistances, instead of running Blasphemy and Herald of Thunder. So I would run Arctic Armor and then the 2 Purities. Alright, I will vendor quickly here, and then we'll move on to the next character, which you guys will see in a later video if you're not watching the live stream here. Alright, so we're gonna vendor